I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust. And I always be around when I need some loving, baby. No one else.
Yeah.
Let you down.
Let you down. Playing all my melodies.
Take me to your heart.
I belong to you.
Take me to your soul. No one else.
Let you go. Good Saturday morning. Welcome to Podcasters Live, Saturday Live training. We are in the building. We are going to have some fun today. I'm telling you right now. I'm having a bad hair day. That's why I'm wearing my hat. But our guests that we have today, they never have a bad hair day. They never have a bad hair day. So, we're gonna get into the conversation around the idea around someone who has recorded their very first podcast episode. And what do they do now? What do they do next? What's the process that got them from actually the idea of creating a podcast to actually creating their very, very first episode? And we will start the conversation right after this. All right. One of the things, this is why I like countdown timers. And I know my guest doesn't like countdown timers. And the reason I like countdown timers is because it gives me an opportunity to kind of check, all the different feeds and all of that stuff where we're located at as well. The issue that I'm having right now, I don't care because we're live, is that I'm not showing up on LinkedIn. So anybody over on LinkedIn, we're going to make sure we put a post or something over there too, just to make sure that you know that we are actually over here on YouTube. I'm not particularly sure what's taking place on LinkedIn, but that's okay. That's what happens when you go live on these situations. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the idea around the starting a podcast and what's that process look like. So today we have an amazing guest. They've been on the show. I don't know, gosh, several times from a Podcasters Live standpoint, but then they also have been on the show, my Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy podcast as well, too. So super excited. Please, let me make sure I got the sound effects correct. Please, without further ado, could you welcome Miss Cher Jones to the building? How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. I'm
Oh,
a little annoyed. Oh, I'm getting like the super cheers. Everybody
yeah,
loves me.
yeah, yeah. I know,
at
right?
least your at least your roadcaster does.
I know, right? Are you annoyed too with what's taking place?
Yeah, I just dumped in the YouTube link over in the post for mine, and it just says the event will start soon. Wait for the host to start. So, remember yesterday when I shared it, I told you, I messaged you about the fact that it just wasn't working. Like there was
Yeah,
something up with the way that the post was being shared. It was just like, I don't know, it just felt like it dropped in the algorithm, or and everybody blames the algorithm, but
I know,
this
right?
there was something janky about it, and I think this is the manifestation, or the back end of that manifestation of that. So I called
Okay.
it.
Yeah, yeah, you did. So I'm actually, so we are both experienced live streamers, so we don't mind having a little bump in the road. But I'm gonna share on my LinkedIn real quick. Join us on
Yeah.
YouTube. I know people are like, really? Yeah. Sorry about the inconvenience.
Hooray,
Sorry
friends.
about the inconvenience.
I
And
know I'm doing the same thing.
there we
Yeah.
go. But it's it is what it is,
It's
and
what it
so
is.
we will make sure that I always spell inconvenience wrong.
Oh, that's not good.
I do, right? And I don't thank God for spell check, and all of that
And
stuff.
Grammarly, your
And
favorite
Grammarly and
friend.
Grammarly and getting your and having your Grammarly set up properly, as well. Sorry for the
Yeah.
inconvenience, but join us over here. Um, over here, please. And we'll do that. I
No, I'm
just
doing
want
the
to make
same
sure we're
thing.
good to go.
Sorry.
That's
I'm
all right.
driving.
Good people. Good people. All righty. Um, you know, Cher, before we get started with, who you are and all this other stuff, because, I
Uh-huh.
think everybody pretty much in my community knows who you are. And some other people who are probably tuning in do not. I want to, I need to do a correction, and I
Okay.
need to do this in front of a whole bunch of people because my man Eddie, last week, I
Wayman.
made the Wayman, I made the mistake of referring to him as and what he does as just train building, and he let me have it, rightfully so. So this is Wayman's his actually, I'm gonna put it over here. This is his YouTube channel. It's Pro Scales, and this is the hat that he gave me. And I'm surprised he didn't come back up here and take it away from me after I said that he just builds trains.
So you're gonna wear
Uh,
it for the rest of the rest of
do I have to
the
wear,
show?
do I have to wear
I
it for the
think you
rest of the
should. I
show?
think you owe him that.
Okay.
I'm just
All right.
saying.
All right.
There you
Okay.
go.
There we go. All right. There we go. How's that? There
There
we
you go.
go. All right.
Repping.
Rep it. I
Repping.
gotta. I
And the
gotta.
reparations.
The reparations. I got to rep for the reparations for my man Eddie. And
Yeah.
here's the thing. So this is his YouTube channel, pro scale models, and Eddie and I go way back 20 years plus. And what he does, and I was being very honest when I said I wasn't doing a service. I was doing a disservice last week when I explained to what he does. But I love what he says here. He says he is the John Coltrane of layouts and models. I
There
love
you go.
that because I'm a massive fan of John Coltrane. Those of you who know anything about jazz music, John Coltrane, the intricacies of what he does and how he plays, and the different notes within notes that he would
Mhm.
actually play, and that's the thing that when I saw Eddie put this up there, Wayman put this up there, I was
That's how
completely
far you
stoked
go
about it.
back. You have a whole new name for
I
him.
have a whole new name. I have a whole new name
Or a
for
whole
him,
old
man.
name. Whole
I,
old name. Right.
I got a hold it. Okay, and then she is in the building. She says hello. How are you doing? And then I forgive you. I forgive
Oh,
you. He does. Thank you so much.
Steven. You notice he calls you Steven, not
Oh, did he
Steve.
say Steven? Oh,
Steven,
he said Steven.
government name.
He says he forgives me. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
had to redeem myself for my man. I had to redeem
Hey,
myself for my
Wayman.
man. Yeah, we go back. We go back way too far. Way too far for that. All right, back to the matter at hand. We're gonna have some fun today. I hope you guys have your coffee. We have ours.
Mhm.
We're gonna enjoy
Coordinated
ourselves today.
effort. Coordinated effort.
Coordinated
Mhm.
effort. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the idea around Cher. Before we get into that, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, and your level of expertise, and then we'll get into all the other good stuff.
Oh, sure. Jones. I'm a corporate trainer, speaker, and the founder of Socially Active Training, where we help leaders and their teams build their brand at work so that it helps them in their role, helps them build their career, and also supports their company brand. So we have a lot of training, workshops, and keynotes, and that is what I do.
Excellent, excellent, good stuff, good stuff. All right, all right. So, Cher, you did a thing. You did a thing last week, and we'll talk about what you did. And it was you recorded your first ever podcast episode, but you use a different format than
hmm
a lot of other people typically would do to actually record their first podcast episode. And we're gonna get into what you need to do with that episode here down the line. But I want to go back, right? Not way back, not to when you were like a kid in
Not to the
Toronto.
Eddie days way back.
No, we don't want to go like way back. I want
Yeah.
to go back when you first thought about doing a podcast, and then why did you think about doing a podcast, and then what was your thought process like, back then, and then we'll move it all the way up to what you actually did the other day, because I think a lot of people they think that a podcast just you just automatically just start just because you have the idea. That wasn't the case with you.
No, it definitely wasn't the case with me. I have a radio and television background, so broadcasting background. And when I started to become an entrepreneur, so that was back in 2012. So I've been doing this personal training back then. That's what I positioned it as since 2012, full time. And at that time, podcasts were just like in their infancy as far as, more regular recognition. Like people kind of knew what a podcast was. They've heard of it. It wasn't some new thing, but, relatively new to most people. And over the years, I'm like, I need to have a podcast. I need to have a podcast. And I really wanted one. And then live stream came into play, and I got diverted into live streaming because I see there's so many similarities, and to some
Mm,
people they're one and the same, right? They're produced as we've talked about it, as your definition is, a podcast is a produced conversation. So me and my producer mindset, creating different live stream shows that kind of scratched that itch. Right. So left the podcasting for a while, but over the last pre-pandemic. So I know there was a rise in podcasts during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic, I was like, I need to have a podcast. And that was like, so let's say we're talking like 4 years ago. And every single time, and I would say I tried multiple times a year to do it, but my problem is always for everything, especially my creator problems, is always rooted in perfectionism. So I would go in and I would record and then I don't like that, and start again. And then it would just be this like feedback loop or this record loop of me trying things and never getting what it is I want. So that for me was my biggest challenge
hmm
between podcasting. So, and especially because this is audio only. So
Right.
the podcasting versus live streaming is like, the beauty of it is that you get it out. Like
Right.
mistakes and all, here's
Right.
who you are. And then you learn to move past the mistakes, the technical glitches like we're having today over on LinkedIn. You learn to move past that. And it
Mm,
is what it is. Whereas the podcast is like this production in my mind.
right.
So that's kind of what happened, and I just kind of stayed in my comfort zone. For some people, like that's crazy. It's live streaming. That's my comfort zone, just
Yeah.
because of the what the medium forces you to push out and make a mistake. Too bad. Keep going.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I don't know, I was talking to the other day. My podcast episodes, when I do a live like podcast episode, and I don't really even do a lot of interaction when I do my live podcast episodes, they tend to go about almost 40% longer than I do when I'm in a podcast booth and I'm recording. It's just something different about the audio side of what you do compared to the actual like live streaming side. You and I have had conversations around the differences between um, the podcast and the live stream. Do you think you want to explain what that conversation and how we kind of discuss the differences between the two, and then
Yeah.
possibly go ahead. Let's start there.
Well, I think because you're thinking about the visual aspect of it too.
Yeah.
So you've got boards, you've got things that you've created that you can go deeper. And I feel like a live stream, because of the nature of it, it doesn't force you to be particularly concise. You know what I mean? You can go on a run.
Yeah.
Whereas I
Yeah.
think with the production of a podcast, an audio specific, no video podcast, even if you are doing video, but like where there is no audience, you're not speaking to people. I think it is about being concise. And then
Hmm.
the other piece to that is the a podcast, especially the listener itself, it's more of a passive listening. They're actively listening, but they're not actively participating. So I think that's the distinction. Whereas
Right.
a
Right.
live stream, you feel like you need to watch it, right? You
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't just you feel like you can't close the browser window, even though you certainly can, because a lot of live streams you can just listen to. Even this one for right now, you don't need to see our faces, you just need to hear what we're saying. So it is that, but we just mentally treat it differently. So and then even when you go into like an audio room, you feel, or anything like that, like Clubhouse or LinkedIn Audio, you feel like you can just like, you know, walk around, do your stuff, and keep it moving. Whereas a live stream, again, is that participatory, active,
Yeah.
active play, I guess, or participation in it. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we got some people that are moving over here. It seems like. Thank you so much for everybody. We were having some issues with LinkedIn on both our ends
yeah,
with it not playing, and then of course this being live, it doesn't look like on your page. It's even started on your page on
no,
share the actual live stream. So I actually put something in the comments just to come over to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel as well. So cool. We look like we got some people coming over there as well,
all right.
and that's cool. How are you doing, Liberty? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Excellent. All right. Um, for those who may have missed the start. Our
Mhm.
intro was a little long today because we played played a song in dedication to Cher being from Toronto and one of my favorite artists, Drake. can't even I can't even I can't even
You
I
can't even
can't
say it. I
I
love it,
can't
but
I can't even like I can't even finish the joke. I can't even finish the joke. That's
mhm.
he's okay. He's okay. All right, so
Hit it, go ahead.
you started the journey and you're like, okay, I want to do this podcast piece, right?
Right.
What were some of the things, like give us like a couple things that you actually had to overcome? Because a lot of people will be like, dude, were you serious? Like you're like the live stream gal on LinkedIn, and you have things to overcome when you want to do an audio podcast. Like,
Yeah.
you walk us through some of that mentality.
Yeah, I think so. One, I'm a thinker. So I had to figure out, well, how am I going to do this? Because the way I was trying it, so I was just talking about the start and stop, I am the queen of the retake. You know, I'm not the one take wonder, I'm the retake wonder. I wonder why I'm
Yeah.
taking so many retakes. But I had to figure out, well, how can I get it done? Right. And what's my
Mm.
workaround? And I looked at where my strengths are. So my strengths are on stage. I never met a mic I didn't like. I'm on stage. I can
True
talk. I
story.
can. And also, I know that I can talk about this. I know that I can speak in sound bites. I've refined my talent to be able to do that. So why is this podcast thing so elusive? Why can't I do it? So then I started to think about, well, how can I make this work for me? And then um, LinkedIn audio came into play. And
Mm.
that's where I was like, wait, I like live streaming. I like being in front of a live studio audience, cue like 1980s sitcom
Yeah,
voice.
exactly.
And it forces me to push through. And even the experience, it's like forced me to completion. It forced me to get her done.
Yeah,
And that's what I need, plus the accountability of putting it out there and saying,
yeah.
this is what I'm
Mhm.
doing, and people are going to show up. So there's no, yeah, maybe I'll record it tonight. You know, there wasn't that, because I even felt like, I don't feel like doing it. I don't know if I want to do this. You know, like the imposter syndrome comes into play, or impodcaster syndrome, as you call it. And there was none of that, because I was held accountable by the people who said, "Oh, I'm loving this idea of an experiment." So I thought, let me use LinkedIn audio
Hmm. Hmm.
and record an experimental podcast episode.
Yeah. Uh, you said something earlier about you said the word accountability, and
Mm,
I think that's a when we think about the word of podcast, even starting a podcast, the idea is because you are recording alone, and you're a lot of times you're recording by yourself. You came up with the idea, and a lot of times you come up with the idea in secret, and then you record also in secret. And so
right.
there's not really a large degree of accountability that you establish, because you like, dude, I don't know if I want to do this. Um, I'm not sure if so and so is gonna, if anybody's gonna like this, if anyone guys listen to it. I hate the sound of my voice, to begin with, and all these other things. How did you get to the point where you knew you were gonna need that level of accountability? Because I think a lot of people miss that step in the process. Like whether it's people that it's as long as I've been podcasting, I just think
Mhm.
a lot of people miss that step within the process. How did you know that that was going to be important for you to do that?
Because it worked for me before with Just as
Yeah,
Share Live. When I
yeah,
was doing it
yeah.
consistently, that was what kept me going. It's like the commitment to do it, public commitment, and then the people in my corner cheering me on, or asking me questions, or excited about the event. And then, like, you can actually see who you're serving when you put
Mm,
yourself out there publicly accountable.
yeah, yeah. I like that. See who you're serving. And if you guys have any questions, or any comments, please go ahead and make sure you put them, put them up, so we can answer any questions, or address anything that you guys have. Anything that you're thinking about, if you're thinking about doing a podcast, or you already have a podcast and you want to kind of revamp it, and you want to rethink it or retool it, just go ahead and put that in there, so we can make sure that we address that for you as well too. So the LinkedIn audio piece,
Yeah.
um, when you did it, I mean, of course, I was there. And we had so many people there when you actually did that event. We're going to talk about the technology that you used as well too, because I
Okay.
think the tech piece is what kind of hinders a lot of people as well.
Mhm.
Um, did you expect the response that you got when you actually did the LinkedIn Live?
Not at all. I
Yeah,
mean, it was, I think the time, my start time was 8 o'clock. I'm used to going at night. Didn't expect, I mean, it was just an experiment. It was an audio room. And I've been in audio rooms, I've played around with them, and I was actually part of the beta testers.
right.
And, but I wasn't, so it was really interesting to see, one, how many people showed up. Like, I had a room, like 40 people at 8
Hmm.
o'clock Eastern
It wasn't that many
on.
people. Stop. No, it was like
Okay, fine.
four. It was like
4, of
four.
course. But
No, it was
4 of
like
my
40. It
favorite
was like 40.
bands.
It
You
was like
might
40. It was like 40. It was like 40. That was like
Yeah.
40.
But it was really dope, because it was just like, they were there. The numbers didn't really drop. Like, it fluctuated between, 30 and 40, but it was like, wow, to see that many people roll up and hang out, right? While I was going through it. And I mean, literally, like, this was not, it was, the information was there, the execution was there, but it was truly an experiment. Like, you guys were, or those who showed up, was literally like a live studio audience of me recording an audio podcast.
Yeah.
So it was not like a live stream, where I'm interactive and I'm
Yeah.
going in front of people, but it forced me to push through, because there are so many times where I think I would have ended the record because it didn't meet the standard in my mind, which is, when I listen to it back, it's like, yo, that was really good. But in the moment, it feels like it's not good enough. So
Yeah. Yeah.
always
What were you
throttling.
thinking in the moment, man? Because I know you, right? And
Mm,
whether it's your facial expressions when you're in the interview and someone asks you a question, you're like, really? Or when you're doing an audio piece, I can sense the change in kind of perspective. And like, there were moments, I'll put it to you this way, there were moments, I think I said this, like, there were moments of, like, dude, like, you were like in a zone.
mm,
Like, I think you completely forgot that you were actually doing an audio live, and you got so engrossed into the content. Did you feel that those
Yes.
moments, or did you, and then when you felt those moments, what got you out of those moments? Because I think a lot of people, when they start a podcast and when they get into that zone, they end up talking themselves out of that zone. But go ahead, I'm leading the witness here.
Yeah, you definitely are, but I'm right with you. I'm right following right behind you because the thing that gets you out of it is when you second guess what you just said. Like you're in there and then you're like, "Oh, I should have said this." And that's what it's like, that shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like you're in there and you're delivering and it sounds great, especially if you listen to it on the replay, like it sounds, or the recording, it sounds awesome, but there's, especially as you evolve your thought leadership and the way that you communicate, what you
Hmm.
teach, and how you serve, you over different ways of saying things, more effective ways of saying things. And sometimes you go back to how you said it before and you're like, no, I have a new version of the way I
Yeah.
say it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that's really where, for me, that was what was that tripped me up a few times, or get me out of my zone, is when I start thinking. Right.
Mm,
Because I think most thought leaders, and I'm not sitting here calling myself a thought leader, but I mean, most people who are trying to share knowledge, and if
okay.
they're really passionate about their knowledge, they really know their stuff, they can talk about it literally without thinking. Like it's
Yeah.
just so natural. Even through application, it's still so natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hate when I start thinking.
Yeah. 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 You can see people who are, when they're an audio podcast, and you can hear it, right? And I always tell people, you can literally like hear a smile when you're enjoying what you're doing, what you're talking about. Like people
Yeah.
can hear that.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about and we're gonna talk gear here in a second. So if you guys want to know about gear, we can talk about that here as well.
And I
But
got a new toy. We'll get to that in a minute.
oh yeah, dude, yeah. Oh Lord have mercy. Let's talk about content.
Okay.
And like with a I always talk about content pillars. Like I'm like
Mhm.
the content pillar police when it comes to whether it's live streaming or podcasting. How much of a role did one having your own perspective and content, how much of a role did that actually have with actually let me ask you, no, I got like three or four questions that I'm trying to ask in once, but let me ask you this one. What are, if you have developed, like what are your content pillars like for your podcast, right? have you
Okay.
have you thought about it in that context yet?
Yes.
If not, then that's cool, but obviously you just said you did, so go for it.
Okay. So understanding that I have different formats of content, or different content via Just Ask Share, that is very much of an instructional, training light experience. Whereas the branded at work, or sorry, your brand at work, that is the podcast. So I've Just Ask Share, the live stream. Your brand at work is the podcast, and I have a very different mission for your brand at work. And that mission, and I needed to make sure that I was separating that from Just Ask Share, because I didn't want it to be just another version of me teaching.
Mm,
This was all about helping people get out. I want to get in your head so that you can get on brand. And so
mhm.
this was all about the mindset of personal branding at work. So my lane is also very narrow. I don't talk about personal branding on the main stage, and or the big B branding. I'm talking about specifically how your brand work, right? How you can help it, how you can grow a brand that helps you in your role, helps you build your career, and also supports the company brand, which helps you in your role and helps you build your career. But I digress. What I wanted this podcast specifically, so the very purpose of this podcast is I want it to be that voice in your ear so
Mm,
that you can think about your personal brand differently, and also finally be moved to action. I want you to do. And I know what it's like to be in your head about your brand. I know what it's like for you not to own your awesome or give your
mm,
value a voice. And so many people are just standing there at work, not 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 walking in their purpose at work, or using their gifts at work. And I wanted to make sure that people can see this side of personal branding. And what holds people back most is not even the techniques and the strategy, it's their
Right.
mindset. So this was all about mindset.
Yeah. So okay, I got to go back. That's when I've been waiting to use that. I was going to interrupt you, but um, because I use that when someone says something dope, and you said when you start talking about your content, and I think you
Mhm.
summed it up in this phrase. You said, "I want to get in your head so that you can get back to work or back to your
No, get
brand."
on brand at work.
So one more, say it again, though.
I want to get in your head so you can get on brand at work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I hear that, right, I think, um, we often talk about like titles and like different things, whether it's the podcast or even like titles with like episodes. And I always quote my friends over in the UK, like do what it says on the tin,
Mhm.
TIN, like do what it says on the tin. Like don't stop being clever. Like no one
Yeah.
buys clever. No one cares about clever. They care
Mhm.
about solutions and they care about you solving a problem. And when
Right.
I yeah, and when I hear it, and when I heard that, it automatically triggered a problem like in the head of myself and probably the potential of other people, right? I'm belaboring this point, guys and gals, so that you can understand that that's why it's important to actually have content pillars. I don't know if I could let Cher go for like another maybe 15 minutes, but she actually stopped herself because she was so passionate about what it is that she does. This is why this is the perfect example of why you need to have like content pillars, why you need to have
Mhm.
content that you are passionate about. We can talk about this whole idea about passion and consistency as well too. Um,
Mhm.
that you need to have, be passionate about, because if you don't, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice when you actually get behind this mic. I don't know. Good.
Mhm.
You got something to share?
No,
No.
no, no. I'm just in alignment with what you're saying
Yeah.
because I think the importance here, or the thing to distinguish here, is recognizing that the purpose for, especially if you have multiple modes or multiple formats of content,
Yeah.
um, because that way it allows, if you have crossover listenership, it's not like, oh, I already heard that on LinkedIn
Right.
or whatever. This is like something that is going to serve you in a different way. And then also recognizing that some of your audience doesn't need the teaching yet. Some of them need to get in their head, or some of them need the teaching now that I've got in their head. So like they interplay on each other. And ultimately, I want them to be the people who are listening. I want them to be the ones to refer me into their organization where they are saying, we need to get training from from Cher,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is what we need, right? Because I think that employers should be paying to help their employees develop their personal brand at work. It's
That's
just a
right.
win-win all the way around.
That's right. 100% agree. 100% agree. One of the things that I often use, retail leadership with podcast retail leadership with Steve Worthy as is almost like a proof of concept of my leadership, my experience, what I've been able to do, but then also what I'm able to do with clients and coaching and training and all these things. When are you thinking about your podcast in that same vein, or is it's not? I don't think it's just a passion project for you. Maybe it's a little bit of both, because I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, a lot of times they are just thinking about like the whole social media piece and trying to drive that piece home. But a
Mhm.
lot of them aren't thinking about like possibly utilizing a podcast to actually be able to communicate their awesomeness, that a lot of times their text post and all this other stuff can't. Are you thinking about your podcast in that vein, or what are your thoughts when you think about like utilizing your podcast?
I think yes to all of that. I mean, it does
Mm,
everything that you said. It does. It's a vehicle for that. But I think I'm so, at this point, so mission oriented, and I'm so aligned and clear on exactly
yeah,
how I
yeah,
serve and what I
yeah,
do,
yeah,
that this is an outcropping of that. And
yeah,
this is something I have to do now, because I just think that, uh, we're in a time. and an H, where the branded wheel gets the grease, and being able to use different experiences and perspectives in my life and helping people really leverage their personal brand. Because at this point, you know, while some communities are naturally more marginalized than other, everybody is feeling some sort of marginalization.
Right.
And now being able to level your playing field by simply working on your personal brand and creating a brand so awesome that you can't be ignored is a tool for success. And I believe in it. I've seen it done a million times, and so I believe my I believe my Kool-Aid. I'm drinking it hard. So
Well, I think that's the issue. Like, there's a lot of people don't they haven't even like created the Kool Aid, and I say that because I want people to create the Kool Aid. I want people to, um, get unstuck. I want them to actually
yeah,
be able to come out here and do a podcast because you call me a like a podcast purist, right? Because I get so passionate about the medium because I've been doing it for so long, and when I hear people that don't do it correctly, and once again, this is my own perspective of
correctly.
correctly, then I'm like, dude, like, oh, stop, like, don't do it. So I was when you told me about you were going to utilize the audio room,
Mhm.
which was a great idea. I actually did, I did an audio room, audio event. What did I call it? I kept messing up the event, like audio live events on
Yeah,
LinkedIn, and
yeah.
I forgot to record it, and I'm gonna make sure I do the recording aspect as well. When you were utilizing that, what made you utilize that? And let's get into the tech real quick. But before we do that, real quick, let's say hello to this gentleman is in the building. How are you doing, sir? Good to see
Hey.
you. Good to see you. I got to give him an air horn. Good to
Yeah.
see you here. Hey, Steve, did you did Steve unbox his coffee? You know
The
what?
unboxing
Let me
king.
see. Let me see. Do I have the I don't even know if I have my other camera set up. I actually Dan, I actually do have my desk is a mess. So you guys can't see this desk, and I am not doing my other camera angles because you don't want to see
Mhm.
this desk. This desk is getting ready, getting packed up and doing some stuff on this desk. So it is literally a mess on this desk, and I got cameras all over the place. It's crazy. So no, I did not do an unboxing for my coffee, but my coffee of choice it is a grande white mocha with hazelnuts with an extra shot of espresso. It will change your life. I'm telling you right now. I am not sponsored by these guys, and I'm going to hold them up like that. I'm going to call you. Already guys recognize the cup. I'm not sponsored by them, but I'm just telling you. Years of me being in the coffee industry, when I was with actually the competition, Caribou Coffee, I have tried so many different types of coffee and coffee combinations. It was insane. It was ridiculous, and I have landed after so many years on this drink, and this is my go-to drink. It is a white mocha with hazelnuts and an extra shot of espresso. I'm telling you right now, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. And what you got? Don't you already have enough sweetness in your life? That's right, man. I sure do, man. I got too much. I got too much. I am very fortunate. I am very fortunate. So you did the audio room,
Mhm.
and what did you use to record your podcast? Because I think the one thing that a lot of people are um, the tech
Yeah.
gets them backwards and sideways and all this other stuff as well too. So talk a little bit about what you used, and then we can
Okay,
talk about
so
your
my
new
new
toy
toy?
that you got next to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the thing that I used was it was called Bounce Cast. And I tested two different things. So you did a test audio room and I jumped in. I was actually using it as
Oh,
my
hmm
test too. And I tested to see if it would record with Bounce Cast. So Bounce Cast is basically a podcast. Like if you're doing a podcast, like a solo podcast, it's a recording program that you can just super easy It immediately enhances the audio, and you can record directly into it. It's just like plug and play.
Right.
You press one button, it records. Press one button, it just superfies the audio. And so it records just your mic input, because that's the one thing that I also wanted to be to let people know, is that, I'm not necessarily, because audio rooms, there's this sense of safety that, what I say here stays here, right? So I did want people to understand that. However, there is a second way that you can do it. You can do a screen record where you're recording the
Right.
audio from your screen as well as your mic. So that's another way you can do it. But for me, I tried both, but that records again all the Q&A and all that kind of stuff. But the quality from Bouncecast was great. So that's bouncecast.com, I think. But
Hmm.
and I liked it. And it's really good because it will give you whatever file output that you want as well, whether it's a WAV file, MP3, all the other options that it gives it to you as well. So I liked that. It was super easy, didn't have to think about it. And that's what I used to record it. And then there's some things that, because I mentioned before, I'm a systems thinker, right? So I'm thinking, well, how can I
Mm, mm,
be more efficient, especially now with AI? Like you can't ignore all the tools that we have, especially
yeah.
when you're thinking about the production side of it. And there's this program that I use, is called Pictory.ai,
Mm,
and it's
yeah.
just like Descript, just like all the other ones, where it can take the transcript and you can edit from the transcript. So as I was forward thinking of what I would do the next time that I record it, was I would, every time I did an error, I would say
Hmm.
the word pickup.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that will then allow me to search the transcript, find all the words where it says pickup, and I know to erase the
Right.
thing before. So it was just one of those ways that I could give my editor a
Mm,
cleaner copy. So I'm trying to think of ways that we can make, because then it'll ultimately, if my podcast is a pleasure to edit, then it becomes cheaper for me as well, because you can run through a lot at once.
yeah. 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 I had developed and I learned this a while ago. Was the clap technique, the silence in the clap technique, which is, so whenever I mess up, I pause and I do it like a big clap, and what that does in the recording, it spikes up the recording, and then there's a silence piece like right afterwards, and then I start again, and so that's just another technique,
Mhm.
too, that we're just trying to give you guys some other techniques that you can use to help from an editing standpoint, that you can actually utilize to, whether you're editing your podcast or you sending it out,
Yeah.
you want to make it as easy as possible. The other the other thing I do is I talk like to my editor when I'm recording. So if I say, I remember a couple episodes I was saying something, man, it was like, so I'm just gonna say it myself. It was so dope. I was like, oh, this is so dope. And I was like, yo, dude, you got to put this in the front. Like, Mark is my editor. I said, dude, you got to put this in the front at this section. And then I said, okay, I'm going to get back. And it's just, it works for us. And he's like, dude, you're the only one like that I work with that talks to me like while you're actually recording, and just moving pieces around. And I'm like, okay, this right here, I think you need to move it over here. And it just works out perfectly. So
Mhm.
you have to develop not just you, Cher, but I'm talking about people out here. You have to develop your own system and how you're going to record the podcast, and then also that's just going to make your life, so much easier. So you use Bouncecast, you did a screen record, right? What new tool? Oh Lord, here we go. What new tool do you have that you are going to start utilizing to not just with your the Bouncecast and all the other stuff, but what new tool do you have that you're going to start using right now? Oh
Okay.
Lord. Oh.
The duo. Okay, so let's talk about why. Because one, I do plan to, at least for the time being, continue doing the live audio or the live
Mm,
studio audience. It just works for me, and it
yeah.
works for how I'm wired. So I gotta know my strengths, right? And when how I will get things done. So that's part of my systems to get things done. And so I wanted to make it one. I wanted to challenges like how close to no edits can I eventually get to, where the point is I'm producing just like a live stream. And that's the beauty of a live stream, of
Yeah.
being able to have a full production by the time you're done. So
Yeah.
it really comes with the prep, which I really want to stress after we can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So the Roadcaster Duo will allow me to get my intro in, get all that stuff, which might take away the fun away from the editor. Who knows? I want to get to the point where I don't I can't say don't need an editor, but whatever. If I can do it where it's good enough to go and the content
Yeah.
is so solid, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Especially using AI now, I think it's like it skips you to the good part. So like editor notes, so you could say the word editor, and then I can find that in the transcript, or I can find pickup in the transcript and then do
Right.
those quick edits, right? So those are the thoughts there.
Yeah.
Um, and then you being able to put the sound effects in, or the intro music or whatever I
Mm-hmm.
have in there, or even some recorded CTAs, so call to actions or whatever you
Right.
want in these pre-produced elements. So it just makes it super easy and you don't have to say anything.
Yes,
And then you can
sir.
also add flavor. So like, yes sir, you can also add that flavor to it, and then it just becomes more of a full production. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what my thinking on that. And I think this little Roadcaster Duo is going to be me and the Roadcaster Duo are going to be a dynamic duo when it
Oh
comes to.
Lord. Oh no. No. Okay.
I'm really committed to this podcast right now, and I know
Good.
that it's not going to be just. I want to have it as a multi-format podcast, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not going to stick to just, I want it to,
Yeah.
when it's me
Yeah.
solo, I
Right.
want short episodes, but if I can write when I find the right audience or the right guest to have on, I want to have guests on it when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So,
100%. 100%. I don't know. I'm a big fan of hybrid shows as you progress. I think a lot of times initially when you start out,
mhm,
it needs to probably be solo, and then you can start with interviews if you want, if that's going to be the format
right.
that you want. But I think for the most part, just to find your own voice initially as a podcaster is difficult, and it becomes even more difficult, I think, when you first start out with with interviews, because what happens is that the person that you have on, initially, you haven't formulated your own voice.
Hmm.
But if you have somebody on who actually has, and you continue to do that, they start to trump almost the ethos of your podcast and kind of what you stand for. I've seen it happen, and I
Hmm.
think, and I always feel like it's extremely important for people to understand how to maybe not do that. But if they want to start with an audio, I mean, with an interview, they can go ahead and do that. But the Rode Duo, I love it. I love it. People don't realize that the Rodecaster Pro, of course, it was initially, us live streamers, we use it now, but I bought mine and I utilized it exactly how you said. When it first came out, I utilized all the buttons for my intro, for my music, for my host read ads, and then also for my outro. And so I
Hmm.
pretty much was able to do an entire podcast episode, with this, and that's really what it was meant for. The sound effects were great to have, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure that you actually do you utilize it in its proper context as well too. So I want to make sure we do this as well. Get to the comments.
Oh,
Stephen,
I can't wait to see it.
yeah, one on piece of equipment. Send you a photo updated. Awesome, man. I can't wait. A mini tripod. Okay, awesome, man. For the audience, the Elgato Master Mount Kit is what I got. All right, excellent. Uh-oh. Who's it?
Enjoy.
Harlem's in the house. What's going on? What's up? New York City's in the
Hey,
house. So glad to be here. Good to see you, dude.
Bruh.
Good to see you. Good to
bruh.
see you. Bruh, Harlem's in the house. We got yep. Love. Loved in the Bronx. The boogie down. So okay. You,
There
you
was
know,
some
um,
one thing before
go
you
ahead.
jump. There
Go
was just
ahead.
one thing that you said. I think that was really important. That I
Go ahead.
think as people are in their podcast development mode, they've got to think about what is the purpose of their podcast. What is the outcome they want beyond how they serve their audience? What is
100%.
what's in it for you? So for me, so this comes back to the whole idea of guests versus non-guests and all that kind of stuff. For me, the whole purpose outside of the mission and the purpose of the podcast, why I'm doing this ultimately is so that I can build trust in my expertise and knowledge, right? So
Right.
when you are creating a show that can showcase that, even if it is with a guest, because what you
Mm.
can do, and we've talked about this with your podcast and whatnot, is your ability to apply their knowledge to your expertise, right?
100%.
That's
100%.
how you can still look like a superstar. Whereas opposed to if you're in the entertainment, the content entertainment space, even if it's business entertainment, where you have now created yourself as the host and you just want to, you become if you don't have that kind of specific industry specific knowledge application, you become a business entertainment host,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And I forget what you
Mm.
do,
Yeah. Oof.
right? So
Man.
that's something
Man.
I think that needs to be recognized as people are creating their podcast.
Yeah.
Again, I want referrals. That's what I want. I want people to trust my advice, trust what I'm giving them, and then
Yeah.
also refer me in because they trust that I can help them.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
100%. 100%. Boogie Down House. So there you go, man. Just letting you know. Just letting you know. I was rocking this earlier, but I had to represent my man today.
For the reparations.
For the reparations for my man Wayman at Pro Scale Models. I had redemption, so I'm rocking this. But New York's in the house. Good to see you, man. Good to see you here as well too. Let me know if you have any questions. Audio Oasis Storytelling Podcast. You want to get the Rodecaster Pro 2, but you're not spending $700. Understandable.
You might want to consider the duo.
The duo, yeah. If you, I mean, and that's a great. It's like $4.99, I think, or something like that. But it does everything that the Rodecaster Pro 2 does. Of course, the only difference is the number of outputs that it has, right?
And most people are in their own studios.
You're in your
They're
own
not
studio.
unless you're in a studio where you're inviting people,
Yes.
right? You're like, Charlemagne and the crew of people, right? Like you don't need it. The Rodecaster Duo, like it's new, but it works the same. It's just less outputs, which is what most creators who are working in their own studio space need. So
Yeah. Plus, it's smaller. The footprint is like mad small. Like it's like.
Mhm.
It's like half the size of this Rodecaster Pro, and this Rodecaster Pro that I have that I actually have it set up, and I actually have it on an arm, so I can swing it off the desk when I want, and I have it close to me when I need to. But it will be awesome to maybe have just a smaller footprint. But I do typically have guests, here live in the studio, but it's only two of us. So the duo would be perfect. So I don't know. I may scale down and put this Rodecaster Pro 2 on the market.
No, you won't.
No, I know. I know
I don't know who you're lying to.
I know.
With all your mics.
I know. I'm like, yeah.
No way.
So the Stream Deck. So I have and Cher does too. We both have the Stream Deck XL, the 32 button Stream Deck. That's what I'm using right now. For everything that I actually do. Right now I actually use the Stream Deck XL, and I love it. I started out with the small one, the 6-button one, which was crazy. I think it's six. Then I went to the 15, and then probably about 2 years ago I went to the 32, and I haven't looked back. I know some people they have 2 of these. I don't need 2 of them. I just I keep my shows very simple. I keep the process is simple, but I don't want to have to touch my mouse while I'm actually doing anything as well too. So that's one of the main reasons why I love using the actual Stream Deck as well too. Hey Steve, is there a key to not killing your computer battery? It's a major challenge. I did a 70-minute live about it. Oh my gosh, really? Now
I don't think so.
No. Let me ask you. So, are you using a laptop? Are you using your laptop for everything, right? So, I am hardwired into an Apple Studio, and dude, this thing's a beast. And then when I go on the road, I use I have a MacBook Pro, 16-inch, I think from M1, that's a beast. That one, the battery life is actually is actually really good as well. I'm not particularly sure about the battery life. I do know whenever you do and use Ecamm, you know this as well, is that it does eat up a lot of terabytes, like massively. So every time I finish a show, I take one of my just processes. I take the show, put it in the folder, and I take it. I don't put it on my. I don't have any shows on my Apple Studio. I have everything on an SD card, and then I'm just fixing up my NAS, and I'm going to be utilizing my NAS to actually upload all of my and be a backup to all of that stuff. Network is a network storage network. Oh my gosh, network acquired storage system or whatever. It's just it's almost like a server, a little personal server that you actually have over there. So I don't utilize any of that stuff. So I'm not particularly sure.
1 billion terabytes.
1 billion, it doesn't 1 billion terabytes. It has 14, which isn't a lot. I mean,
Dude,
before
don't
what
you
I do,
remember just 10 years ago
I
having
know.
a 32 gig stick was like,
Was-
yo, you
I
got
was-
memory for days.
I was looking
So-
I was looking for one. I thought I had one in my little drawer here. Yeah, it was funny. I don't know if Eddie's still on here, but I remember Eddie because Eddie used to work at Georgia Tech, and he gave me a silver thumb drive that had eight. It had 8 gigs on it, and this was early 2000s, and he gave me that joint and it had 8 gigs on it, and I literally lost my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is awesome. Like 8 gigs. Like, yo, I had so much stuff on that thing. It was crazy. Now 8 gigs, it's
run through
a
that.
half an hour of the show is almost 8 gigs, which is crazy. So I want to make sure we get to once again, if you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything about the process of starting a podcast, you're thinking about or you have thought about it, or you're thinking like, man, I've slowed down, make sure you go ahead and put the comments or your thoughts. Even, Cher's a gearhead too, so I know we're talking about podcasting, the idea around podcasting, but this is Podcasters Live, so I know there's always going to be a gear question. All right, excellent point, Cher. You must know your why for starting the pod, 100%. It's so easy to get distracted and ultimately overwhelmed if you don't know your why.
Yeah.
I call it the everybody does, but the shiny object syndrome, especially in podcasting, is that squirrel, and you follow trends, right? What did I call it? I always come up with different words. I feel like I'm like the Jesse Jackson of podcasting, or Podcasters Live, because I just come up with I make up words and stuff like that. Trend, I was the trend chasers or something like that. Like, stop chasing the trends. Like, stop doing that, because those only last for a period of time. And then if you come back to your core audience after you chased all of those trends, guess what? They may not be there anymore.
You don't have a core.
You don't have a core, because guess what?
Your core.
You talking about like Audio Oasis Storyteller podcast. I love the Knicks. I love my Giants, and I love my Yankees. But can I start a podcast on them? No, right? I just because I love them doesn't mean that I can literally start a podcast on them. And so I think that's where we have to kind of think about, our why and what we're doing, behind actually starting a podcast. Go ahead, Cher.
There's something that I also, the why is so important, and you call it also, you always talk about the North Star and having your North Star, and then even, like clicking more into that and being like, well, this content's purpose is this content's purpose is this, and there could be multiple for your audience, but also one for how you're going to use it. And I think that's what we're really stressing here today, is understanding both. It's a multi-purpose. Like, when you create content as a creator, it's multi-purpose. The purpose for the audience, but what is the purpose for you? Like, how are you fed from this content? Right. And sometimes it's just a passion project, and that's okay. But if you have a conversion metric behind it, like, it needs to help you do this so that you can get paid, get on the stage, get whatever, you need to know that exchange, right? Because it's the value exchange in both of the values that you're trying to deliver, the
Yeah.
value for you and the value for your audience.
Yeah, and I think that that last part is a missing piece a lot of times is the
Hmm.
value. I know you want to do it for yourself too, right? You want you there is a
Hmm.
massive aspect of whether you think about it from an altruistic standpoint, but I think the end result and the end goal is about the audience. It is about making sure that the audience um is fed and that they're actually able you actually either solving a problem or helping them move from where they are to where they need to be. So I can go on about that, but let's ask this question. Let's answer this question. How is recording the audio on LinkedIn different? Is the audio recording feature available to all LinkedIn users? That's a great question. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Forgive asked before. No, that's okay, man. That's
Oh
that,
no, it's a perfect
or
question.
gal. I'm not sure. I'm sorry about that. But go ahead. Go ahead. Answer the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you can't natively record a LinkedIn audio room. Just like you can't natively record it on Clubhouse from the last time I used it. I don't know if they have added that functionality, but I don't think so. So you have to have a separate mode to do that. So I used Bouncecast to do that. So it records my mic. And so the whole purpose of using the audio room was not necessarily for the interactive Q&A on the back end, which I think it is so beautiful to be able to immediately get feedback. So that gives you ideas, for example, for next episodes, gives you ideas of maybe even how you're going to edit it.
Yeah.
Right. Because you
Yeah.
can see where was the block hot on what you were talking about. Right. And maybe that is what needs to get punched up. And maybe that's what you're teasing when you edit your podcast. That's what you're teasing your podcast with is where that moment, so you can get that immediate feedback on the thought
Yeah.
leadership or whatever you're sharing yourself. But so back to the question, it is really, you can't record on LinkedIn, so you didn't miss anything,
Mm-mm,
or you're not
mm-mm.
like, I didn't know that, so you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It was very similar to um Clubhouse, right? I
Yes.
mean, I don't know if you can. I haven't been in years
Well, the
on
difference.
Clubhouse. Well, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You know
No,
me.
no, no,
I
you
didn't take
interrupt.
my
It's okay.
ADHD test. So, but so the difference. So I originally, this is so funny. I originally when Clubhouse first came out, if you didn't have a Rodecaster Pro, not the
Oh yeah,
two, but the
right.
Pro at that time, you could not record a Clubhouse conversation. So some people were, because or amplifying or elevating their Clubhouse rooms with the Rodecaster Pro, because you needed that piece of equipment. The beauty of a LinkedIn audio room is that it's browser based. So it's not about, you can access a LinkedIn audio room from your phone
Right,
or from the
right.
browser. And that's big, because now that immediately means that you can use your up leveled mics as opposed to a phone mic.
100%.
And and so that's huge. But again, the reason, and I bought, when I heard that LinkedIn audio was
I
coming,
remember. I
I was like,
remember.
okay, I thought it was going to work like Clubhouse. So I'm like, okay, now LinkedIn audio for me makes sense, because my primary audience is on LinkedIn. And I always thought that that was missing. And you can already see that LinkedIn and Clubhouse, they were first playing nicely together, and then there was a riff. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need a Rodecaster
Yeah,
Pro
yeah,
at
yeah.
that time. I got
Serious
it.
gas.
And then I found out, serious, but I had a use case, because I thought it was going to be like
True,
LinkedIn,
true, true.
right? So, and I wanted it to be up leveled mic, all that kind of stuff. But then I found out how it actually worked. And then so I sent it back. Thank God. And then, like, what, 6 months later or five
Yeah,
months later, they came out with Rodecaster Pro 2. So,
yeah.
hey.
I think James and I helped you make that decision, though. I think, right? What do
Yes, you
you,
did.
right? Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
had
Because go ahead.
no, you had a show about that, and I was asking about, you had a show, I think, Tech Troublemaker. I can't remember. No, it was a two people
Oh yeah, it
on
was
you.
oh yeah, does gear matter? And
Yes,
it was John and it was and Jeff.
yes.
Yeah, yes,
And I was
yeah,
trying to decide between the Rodecaster Pro and the Stream Deck, right? Because
yeah.
I, at that time, I didn't have either gear. And then I got the Rode, and then, or I just bought the Rodecaster Pro, and I was just deciding whether I wanted to keep it. And then they're totally two different machines, really and
You're right.
truly. But then I decided on the Stream Deck. And then I sent the Rodecaster Pro back.
Yeah, that was funny. How you doing, Ender? Good to see you. Good to see you here. And yeah, 613 I'm telling you, it was and yes, you and I did see that. Yes, you are a female. I thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping me out because I say dude a lot and I
He says
apologize
dude
for
to
that.
everyone.
I do, and I don't mean anything by it. It's just natural.
Dude is a
perspective.
unisex word to you.
Yeah, I know, but it's just I don't want to offend anybody. But yeah, and Cher can attest to this too. I think the more you get engrossed into whether it's podcasting or live streaming, the more you get gas, right?
Mm.
Gear acquisition syndrome, and you want to level up everything that you do. But
Yeah.
I think so, and I've gotten better. I'm probably 70-30. I used to be 70-30 the other way. 70 was gas, and then 30 was use case. Now I'm pretty much 70 use case, and I'm about 30% gas. Meaning like,
I think your numbers are off just a little bit. DGI.
well, she's referring to this, yeah.
And what do you have? What's the other one you have right now? The
Nothing.
Rodecaster.
I don't have
The
anything.
Rodecaster. Yeah, you have nothing,
I
right?
don't know. I
Mm.
don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna
Yeah.
just use all the sound effects just
Yeah.
to keep you. No, it's not that bad.
I'm just saying your ratio's off. I'm saying you're getting better, but your ratio's off, bro.
I do still like a piece of gear. I do. I ain't gonna front. All right, so let's help Dan out real quick too. He's using a Mac connected to two 32-inch monitors, 3 cams, two stream. Well, he got 2 stream decks. Oh man, that's okay. Go ahead.
That's all the power running off of the one Mac. So of course your battery's gonna drop, bro.
Yeah, man,
It's
that's a
all
lot.
powered by your Mac.
That's a
So
lot.
they're all
What
connected.
do you and what docking station are you using? Are you using a CalDigit? Or I have a CalDigit 14 here, and then I actually have an Anchor. I can't remember what it was on my desk, in my office downstairs that I use, and I have everything. I have my computer plugged into my screen plugged into that. I don't do a lot of live streaming from my studio. From my office. So the battery life of my Mac, I haven't really. I actually have tested it, and it's still awesome. But those are a lot of outputs.
Yeah,
For
and you
that.
need processing for that too, right?
Yeah.
So it's
So
not even if they're self-powered, it's still your system's still processing it, which takes process power, which takes batteries.
yeah. So I would if you don't have a docking station to help kind of lighten some of that load, with some of the cameras and all that. So you probably do. But if you don't, that's one of the ways that I have been able to save a lot of my battery life and just a lot of the functionality and quality and keep the quality of a lot of the gear that I actually have is by utilizing the dock as well too. So you have a 4 terabyte stand disk. Okay, excellent. But I've heard it's I haven't heard about the SanDisk being bad. Are you talking about the smaller one that actually is orange around the edges, and then it has like the little key ring thing too? I haven't heard. I currently use for all of my backup. I use a Samsung. This is just a 2 terabyte one. I probably need a 4 terabyte. And that's not gas. It's acquisition. It's with intent, Cher. So you can stop the smirk that you have on your face. You can stop the smirk that you have on your face. Let me see. Dude, no offense, but Cher is the OG. That queen is so brilliant. Steve Jobs wouldn't hire her because he wanted. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. The Panera hit me so hard, and I slowed down my pause. Is it pandemic or Panera?
Well, Panera, you don't want to say pandemic because that gets yes.
I got you.
Don't you know that?
I know. I'm like, I am so out of
You
it.
don't want to say that. You get
I'm sorry. the Panera.
Oh,
My bad.
yes. You
Let
start to
me
say that
switch
all
it.
the time.
The There we go. All right, there we go. So you slowed down with your pod, but you're coming back, back hard soon. Excellent. Per share. I unpack my North Star, blow off the dust. So can I tell you about the North Star real quick? Then what Cher, what Cher was talking about, and not just from her perspective, but the North Star. Here's the thing, and I learned this in leadership first, and then I've applied it to my podcast. Every time in leadership, people want to see themselves in your vision, where you're taking them, right? It's great to have a vision as a leader, to know where you want to go, how you want to get there, but you can't get there without your people, period. And so you actually have to help them understand where they are within your vision. And it's the same thing with your podcast and your content. Whenever you're talking to somebody for like 15, 20 minutes about whatever the topic is, a lot of the times we just close off the podcast and we're like, thank you so much for being here. We'll do a quick recap, point 3, point 1, 2, and 3. Great. Thank you so much for being here. Bada bing, bada boom, we're gone. However, we leave them hanging. We leave them without the perspective of what does all this mean to me? Cher just talked to me for 20 minutes, and that's great. But Cher, how do I apply this? How do I apply this to my life? What does it look like if I do everything that you just said? Now, we know that there are no absolutes as it relates to if you do X, Y, and Z, what Cher said, then this is going to happen. But there is there are some opinions, because as the podcaster, you have particularly done some of these things, and these are the results that you have received because you are the influencer, you are the expert. So in doing that, in showing and giving them a North Star of this is what it would potentially look like if you did X, Y, and Z, right? And when we did that with our podcast, our consumption rate went through the roof, right? It went through the roof because when you're developing or presenting content and you're just talking to a person one way and you're not providing the context of where they are or where they can be after listening to your stuff, I think you're doing them a disservice. So if you haven't thought about that aspect of your podcast or your live stream, go ahead and make sure you go and put that in there as well too.
And then let me just
go ahead. Go ahead, Cher.
Because that was actually feedback that you gave me. So moving into what would I do differently about my first dry run at this podcast. And that was really interesting. So Audio Oasis, I definitely recommend that you just book a session with Steve to just talk about that, because there are things that can be added or incorporated in, and really making sure that you have that right perspective on that. One of the pieces of feedback that he gave me around making sure you anchor on that audience North Star, what's in it for them, and really bringing it back down in that personal application, all that stuff, and really having that communicated. And then the other thing that, especially Steve is just an accountability partner and an idea. He's like my idea bouncer offer, and vice versa. Is we'll tell each other when something bores, an idea. Well,
yeah, go ahead, give them an example.
So it was your most recent. It's what's coming up for you actually in your retail space,
Yeah.
and oftentimes when you're first ideating, and it's never what you land on, but when you first come up with the ideas, here I'm going to talk about HR and retail, or whatever boring thing that you had come up with first, and I was like, oh my god, that bores me. I'm bored. So he's giving me the ideas, but having someone to do the same thing for you is really important. And making sure that you're on message, you're on purpose, and you're doing what you need to do. There's nothing more important than that, and communicating in a way that converts. Right. So, and those, just hearing that feedback. And again, this goes both ways. So hearing that feedback of the different things that you need to do. And that might also, I see that you're getting super excited about LinkedIn audio. I think it's
I know.
an amazing thing to do. So as long as you are in creator mode, so as long as your profile has been switched on to creator mode in LinkedIn, you can access LinkedIn audio, LinkedIn live, LinkedIn newsletters as a part of, as long as audio has been, I think it's been released all around the world, but they have spots where it might not have been released yet, but I think everybody has it now. I could be wrong. But as long as, if you're in the US, for example, or North America, England, they have it. So you just have to turn creator mode on, and then you should be able to post an event, and it will ask you if it's an audio event.
Yeah. So right there, if you're on your LinkedIn, this is mine. And if you go here, scroll down, and then creator mode is right here on the
If you
resources.
click on it, Steve.
And then click
Yeah,
on it.
click on
And
it.
I did. Oh,
No, so open it up. Now it says see LinkedIn Live, audio event, newsletters, right there. Now scroll down.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Newsletters and the follow link. Those are all available as creator tools. And then when you go to post an event or when you post any status, so when you're in the main home feed and you're about to post something, the audio option will be available for you.
Yeah. Yep. So just wanted to make sure you had that so that you can go ahead and get that set up as well too. So all right.
You won't break anything.
No. Audio to go live events, creative events. Oh, he's okay. Dan's just walking through that.
Just try it, yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you, dude. It's fine. I get it. And all this. Thank you. Cher, what did Cher say? What did she say? What did she say that's making you laugh
When I said you
so
was
hard?
boring me.
Oh,
probably. It was just so generic. Ashia, it was like the most generic thing ever. And I was just like, oh my God, you're boring me. And then the look on his face. Like, how dare you? But you're right.
It was.
So what do I do? Yeah.
It was kind of boring. And thank you so much. Got to check it out after this live event. Excellent. Yeah, docking station. Oh man. See, don't get me started, dude. Okay. Now you got.
That's a DM. You guys need to DM afterwards.
No, we don't. I'm so okay, Dan. I'm gonna.
You see, you're bringing it out right now. All of a sudden, that ratio that I was talking about.
I'm not buying it. I already have it. I already have it. So I want to. So this is what I'm talking about, Dan. So this. I know you're probably looking at the price. You're like, you really do. There are some smaller ones. The reason I like this one. The reason I like this one is because of the number of outputs that it actually has for the
it's
back
necessary
right
for a Mac when I think about that.
It is necessary for it. Yeah.
Port.
We need ports. It's port support.
I'm a PC for now, at least.
Port support. So it has a ton of ports that you will probably run out of. And I have mine right here that's connected with everything. Plus, it also has SD cards and the micro SD cards. Of course, your Mac,
right?
huh? And it's powered. The thing with dongles, as you probably will know too, is the thing with dongles that they're not powered, and so it doesn't matter what you put in there. They're still running. They'll still be running off of your computer's power. So having a actual docking station to actually put all of your monitors and all of that stuff in, and then run it through your computer. I'm telling you right now, it's game changing, man. It is game changing as well too. Let me see, docking station. So I did that one. Can you send me a message? Okay, yeah, I'll do that too. I'll do that one as well. I'll make sure I connect with you on there as well too. Yep. There's YouTube videos. Yes. Good deal. Oh, yes, Steve. You have two documents. Okay, you got two of them. Okay, great. Audio, if you need help, I'm not hard to find on LinkedIn. Just look up Honest. There you go. That too, but also what she said, they're using gear. Yeah. Well, I can't help it. I can't help it. LinkedIn request.
Although there's so many benefactors to your gas, it's great.
Yeah,
Wayman.
Yeah. I know. I can't help it. I get pumped up about all of this stuff. Oh my gosh. Do you know what time it is? It is.
I just looked.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so can we end on what I learned?
Yes, please. And yes, I know. I know. It has gone by so fast. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Go ahead. Finish up what you
So
learned. There you
yeah,
go.
and then you can finish up your show. So one of the things that I learned was, preparing for an audio podcast is not the same prep for preparing for a live stream.
Say it again.
And
Say it again for the people in the back. Bruh. Oh man.
preparing for an audio only podcast, especially a solo hosted, is different when you have a crutch of being, and I don't mean crutch in a bad way, but when you have, more than one, like there's a minute, there's a break, all that stuff. But when you're one solo, the prep for an audio podcast was way more than I thought. And I thought I prepped. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm so used to so on a stage, I'm used to having my slides. I'm used to having things. I'm
Mm,
used to watching the faces in the audience. Whereas a LinkedIn audio room, you just see people's profile pictures, right? And they're there and whatever. There's no
right.
reactions other than the emoji reactions. But I prepared and I was underprepared. I mean, part
Mm,
of the under prep also has to do with the development of my format.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
still an experiment for me. And I
Right.
know that just like with my Just Ask Cher, which is a very formatted, fine-tuned format, because I've been doing it so long that it doesn't take much for me to fill in the blanks of the format. But right now for the podcast, as I experiment and try to find out what exactly how do I want this to flow? And that experimental stage, you have to give yourself grace for, right? And just like the first version of a LinkedIn Live of a video, it's not going to be like your 10th. And
Right.
one of the
Right.
things that you
Right.
want to do is not dwell on what it wasn't and what it was, right? You just got to keep moving. So I'm literally on to the next. There are a few more things that I know that I need to prepare for. A
Mm,
lot of it had to do with the format and really understanding that format. And
mm.
I think once I get that going after, let's say 5 or so episodes, I think I'll have that flow in place that'll be a lot
Yeah.
easier,
So
right? So I underestimated the
mm,
prep time for it because it was like a solo broadcast. And I mean, I'm not even trying to have a long podcast. I'm trying to have,
yeah. Yeah.
anywhere between 8 minutes and 15 minutes. And I think my record time, including all the thoughts and the things that I was trying to fix and whatever, it
Hmm.
wasn't that long. It was 22 minutes.
Right.
So considering I'm going to edit that down, I made my mark. But there were just things that now that I think about how I would do it more cohesively, more smoothly the next time, it's all in the prep time. And I think the more you prep, the less you edit.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to say that again for people in the back. The more you prep, the less you edit, right?
Mm, mm.
So that was something that I learned. And then but the other thing that I learned is I actually really like audio. So not having to
Mm.
think about the presentation factor, I washed my hair yesterday so I can be on Steve's show today kind of thing, like the drying time, the math on the drying time so that my hair can dry. So things like that, I don't have to think about. So I really like that. However, I also had like hoop dreams for my podcast in the first episode, meaning that I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna record myself with my phone so I've got content that I can. It's like, yo, slow your roll. Let's get the podcast down, and then you can start to add in the other elements that you're supposed to do, but just not yet. Like focus on one thing at a time, nail it, and progress. And so, like, I had all these things, like this grandiose dream of like being able to get shorts and this and that. I was like, yo, that didn't, it was like the first, I look so busted doing my podcast. I thought I had time to fix myself up, get the camera going and everything. I had so many, just, my dreams were too early on what I wanted to accomplish. So I guess get down to the brass tacks.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
audio rooms again were incredible. Just being able to have that audience, it does force you through. And the more you prep, the easier that force will be. So that's what I
Yeah.
learned. And then, don't try to do it all. Right. You're doing too much. And that's like my middle name. Cher, you're doing too much Jones. Right. So
You ain't said nothing but a word. You ain't said you know, or what do they
Yes.
people always say, that part, like that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, before I know we got a couple. I'm gonna go to 11:30, so I don't care. We got a little while longer for a little bit, but we got Black Podcast Association in the house, and yeah, you're
Hey,
late, buddy.
Corey.
You're late, and you know what you get? You get the gas face for that.
That's it. The bridge is over. The bridge is over. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
The bridge is over.
Yeah.
The bridge is over. Hey.
You get the gas face, my friend, for being for being for being late. And Corey says, facts. Facts. The more you prep, the less you edit. And this comes from an editor too, as well too. And then of course Shia says the same thing. And Shia, we're waiting for your podcast too. No pressure.
Just say.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. Wait for you. You know, and you know what the name of your podcast is. You know what the name of it is. Do I have to say it?
I think
Do
you
I have to say it? Put it in the comments, Shia. Hello, hi. That's the name of your podcast. that is the name of your podcast. If you do not,
And what will it do on the tin?
hello, hi. Random thoughts from a Shia. Like it's like, yo.
Her podcast is so not a random thought.
I know, but I think. But
You want her to have a second podcast.
But no, you don't want it to say like, you know, calculated thoughts from a Shia, right? You know, they are calculated thoughts, but you don't want to like, you know, hello, hi, calculated thoughts from a Shia. Like, you know, no, it's like, no, random thoughts. Like, I just thought about this.
No,
And like,
this is her other genre. Don't you remember?
I know the other genre. I know that, but I honestly feel like this. Okay, we're actually counseling her. We're counseling her. I honestly
She's not
think
even part of the conversation.
I know she's not even part of the conversation. I honestly think, Shia, if you don't, this is what you should do right now. No, like all your hello, hi, like your random thoughts, things like that. I don't know. I love it. I know the horror thing we talked about too. I get it, but I just feel like you have so much fun when you actually do those. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. We're planning your podcast in your life for you, just to let you know that as well too. Before we go, if anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything that
Who's gonna try LinkedIn audio? Say yes in the comments right now. Drop it.
There you go.
Yes, drop a
There you
LinkedIn.
go.
Drop
There you go.
something.
And then I'm gonna do a quick impersonation of Miss Cher Jones. If you've never seen her do her live streams, please make sure you go back and take a look at them, and then look at the ones that are coming up, because she always has her phone, and she always says this: "Are you team live or are you team replay? Are you team live or Steve's team replay? Corey's team live? So and so." You know, that's her. That's my little. She hates when I make fun of her, but that's her joint. That's her staple. That's her staple. Cher, I know. I don't care. This is my platform. The other one is my platform, so I'm going to cross promote. And so for anybody out there who may, yes, nervous. So nope, it's not about me. So I'm gonna cut myself off and put this up here. Yes, nervous, but gonna do it anyway. Go.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. And then
We're cheering you on. Seriously,
we're cheering you on. And here's the thing: if you want to invite, if you've connected with Cher and I on LinkedIn, and you want to do a test, like I did a test the other day, and I think I had about 4 or 5 people. I invited like 2, like Cher and Walter, and then I think I had like 2 more people just saw me going live, and they you know, on the audio live, and they jumped in, and it was just like a very organic conversation. And so I think if you want to invite us or something like that when you do a test, please don't hesitate, you know, because I think what we, you know, I know Cher talks about this a lot when you start talking about going live, like, you know, do some test lives, like in a Facebook group, or something that you can possibly just record, you know, depending on the software that you're using, just to kind of get your reps up. But I think with the audio in LinkedIn, there is no prep. Like, you can't do it like behind a wall. You got to do it on LinkedIn. So the best way to do it is just to do it and then put tests on there, and then invite Cher and I, or maybe some other people, and we'll definitely come on there and cheer you on, and you can run your ideas and whatever
See
it
how
is
the
that you
tech
want to
works.
do. Yeah, and see how the tech work as well too. Oh my God, would love to do a test before getting out there. Yeah, 100%. I
Mhm.
100% recommend it. In everything. Like speaking of recommending a test, I'm a, I'm gonna set it Cher because I think her first podcast episode was awesome, even though she doesn't think it was awesome. I am of the opinion that she should utilize it as one of her first episodes. She doesn't. And why don't you want to use it as an episode? Maybe not your first one. Maybe it's because I think the content and what you spoke about resonated with everybody. And so why don't you want to use it?
It
I'm
just
putting you on
wasn't.
blast.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, and I can handle it. Thank you very much. But the thing that I was, it wasn't up to it. Okay, I sound like I'm making excuses already. It really sucks when you come from a broadcasting background
What happened
because your
was,
standard is very high, and I worked
mm-hmm.
um, in broadcast at a national and international level, and so from a production value, from whatever, there are just things that I think it's okay to let that go. I got the wiggles out. I could go back and do the same thing. It's going to be a different audience. It doesn't matter. It's not recorded anywhere other than on my hard drive. So I'm good with that. And there are just things that I know from doing this the first time that I'm still going to do it again. I'm still hyped to do it. And I just want it to be a little bit more flowy and again, that sticking the landing on the end, what we talked about earlier, I want to make sure I incorporate that piece into it. Shut up. It doesn't matter. I don't have to justify what I want because that's what I want and too bad. So that's what I'm going to do it. And that's fine. It was
Oh, I'm
just the
sorry.
first
You
one.
still
It was
talking?
my test.
I'm sorry. You still talking?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Finish.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Are you done? So for me,
Are you done?
all
Are
you
you
want.
are you done?
Are you done? Right? So yeah, I get it. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that being a test and amping me up. And it was labeled as an experiment. So I needed to try it to see what I thought about it. I don't want to go back and listen to it. I just want to be on to the next and know how to prepare for it. So I'm good with the test, just like it's fine to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to use it. As
Mm-hmm.
much as it was good, I know what I can do. And I'm not trying to slip into perfectionist mode. I needed that test.
Mm-hmm. You
So I know I talked a lot
Yeah.
yes.
Sit in the
I was on it with the mic. I got
bottom.
you. Exactly. Yo, you should have seen how busted I looked. Oh my gosh. It was bad.
And he said, I agree. Shares for its audio pot. Yes, thank you. There were so many people. I like that with the whole bunch of O's. So many people, rooting and supporting this milestone. Yeah, I don't got nothing to say. I don't got nothing to say.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Steve, snore on her.
Guys, I appreciate it.
I'm telling you.
Again.
I'm telling you. Did you guys? Okay, it wasn't just me. All of the, and then I just wanted to. Just like, dude, stop.
I get it.
Like, yo,
Just give me my grace and let me allow to do it my way. And if I made an excuse for the next one, then fine. I get it. But I'm not because I know how I want to. It's going to be better out the gate.
I just realized the bottom part. Mbaku says, "Do it again." Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Like, that's exactly how I felt when she was talking all that yin yang, man.
Bruh, it's like 11:33. It's
Huh?
like an hour and a half. You just let's wrap it up, homie.
Okay, you wrap it. Okay, all right. Okay.
Sure.
It is my show. Oh, so yeah. So okay, I didn't want to. I don't care. Cross promote because next week we are doing something with Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, which is awesome. We are doing our very first what we call boots on the floor, and it is a retail leader town hall. And so we have some amazing guests. The first time we actually doing two different time slots. So if you know anybody that's in retail, if you know anybody that's a retail leader, please make sure they can just go in and check my profile, and there's a registration for that as well. We're doing 2
And
different
it's
time
free.
slots, and it's
$3.99.
free. And it's free. And it's a Zoom event. We're not doing it on LinkedIn. It's a Zoom event because we want to give retail leaders sort of that kind of that safe space, if you will, for them to kind of just talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about. But we are doing 2 different time slots, 12 o'clock p.m. This is Thursday, June 22nd, 12 p.m. I have my a good friend, Ron Thurston, who is the author of Retail Pride. He is going to be on talking about the broken recruiting process within the retail industry, and then giving retail leaders some advice on what they can do on their end to equip and train their teams, one for the next level, but also to have conversations with their recruitment team. And then we also have a time slot at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., same date. And we also have Cher Jones in the building that day. And she is going to be talking about how to create a personal brand, at work as a retail leader. One of the things that retail leaders suck at is talking about themselves and also communicating their awesomeness without bragging. And regardless if they think about it or not, they do have a personal brand. And so we're going to be discussing on how to actually understand what your personal brand is at work as a retail leader, and how to actually maximize that, not just for promotions, but also for authenticity and approachability, and also to be able to speak about yourself. That is one of the most, it sounds like a really basic thing, but a lot of people don't have the language, as Cher says.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't have the language to speak about themselves as well. Right, Cher?
Exactly. People just don't. So, so the ask is, guys, if you know anybody who's working in retail right now, who's either in retail leadership already or has visions of getting there, this is the spot where you want to invite them to, get them to sign up. So refer them over to Steve, and that's the ask of the day.
There you go. All righty. I don't care. I'm going to leave you on the screen while I say bye to everybody. Appreciate you guys. It is 11:30, right? You still got time to go and enjoy your day, and do some really good things. Try to finish this up at 11 o'clock, but Cher talks a lot, and so
Talk and talk.
see, I'm trying to end the show, and she's still talking, right? Thank you guys so much for being here. I probably won't be here next weekend, but possibly the weekend after that, I will be here, talking about a couple of different things, and we'll figure that out as well. So excited. Thank you for being here for Podcasters Live, our Saturday live training. Connect with us, of course, anywhere on Podcasters Live, whether it is on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We'll see you. Have a great day, and God bless. I stole that from, I stole that from Russell Simmons from Def Jam.
Yeah.
I borrowed it. Have a great day. God bless.